Welcome. Before we begin, I want to be very clear about what this session is and what it is not. This is not inspiration. This is not motivation. This is not a promise that everything will magically work out if you think positively enough. What you are about to see is a structural system. The architecture of the Filipino life is a way of understanding your life not as a personal failure, but as a system you were placed inside long before you had real choice. At the end of this session, you won't be fixed. You will be oriented. And orientation changes everything. Most self-help assumes one thing: that the individual is broken. That if you just had more discipline, more clarity, a stronger mindset, you'd finally be okay. But what if the problem isn't you? What if you've been using tools designed for a completely different operating system? This work treats life as architecture. Architecture cares about load, constraint, pacing, design, not height. Because breakthroughs feel good, but foundations are what hold. Before you ever made a real decision, you were already inside a system. You inherited emotional rules, power structures, survival patterns. Most of these became normal before you even had language. You learned what earns approval, what triggers conflict, what keeps the peace. What feels like your personality is often adaptation, not identity. You are not failing at life. You are running an old system in a new environment. Filipino life runs on a powerful cultural operating system. Hiya, utang na loob, pakikisama, chismis, crab mentality. These are not moral flaws. They are social mechanisms. Hiya regulates behavior through anticipated judgment. Utang na loob creates a non-expiring obligation ledger. Pakikisama stabilizes the group while minimizing the self. These forces don't disappear when you grow up. They become invisible governors of adult decisions. Before ambition, there was fear. Before desire, there was duty. Scarcity shapes identity long before it shapes money. Children form silent contracts to survive. If I stay quiet, things don't escalate. If I become useful, belong. If I don't need anything, I won't be a burden. These contracts turn into adult roles. You cannot break a contract you cannot see. Most adults confuse who they truly are with who they had to become. Personality is survival architecture. It formed around approval, conflict avoidance, usefulness. The soul waits, sometimes for decades. The tension you feel is not failure. It is the collision between the adapted self and the authentic self. Your life is an architecture. Shaped by pressure, context, patterns, and meaning. The grid has 3 layers. 12 domains. 6 columns of force. 4 structural stacks. Together, they explain why willpower keeps failing. This is not diagnosis. It is structural mapping. Most collapses are not caused by weak character. They happen at pressure points. Places where multiple forces act at once. Willpower cannot win against structure. Pressure always wins. So we stop fighting ourselves and start redesigning the system. Nothing expands until the system becomes predictable. Stability is load-bearing capacity. If the body cannot sustain change, change collapses. This is not laziness. It is biology. Before ambition, regulate. Before redesign, stabilize. Boundaries are not emotional statements. They are engineering decisions. You do not announce boundaries. You implement them. Quietly. Consistently. Boundaries reduce load. They protect structure. Guilt is not a feeling. It is an inherited governance system. You do not remove guilt waiting for it to disappear. You separate guilt from choice. Guilt can stay. Choice proceeds anyway. You do not need the whole plan. You need the next right move. The smallest action that restores coherence. Big moves trigger alarms. Small moves retrain the system. Inconsistency is not character flaw. It is a seasonal reality. Different seasons require different behavior. Designing against your season activates collapse. Alignment begins with timing. You do not get to disappear to transform. Evolution happens inside the system, not away from it. This system teaches you how to outgrow in place. Breakthroughs shift mood. Maintenance shifts identity. Breakthroughs depend on energy. Maintenance depends on structure. Real change spreads through resonance, not influence. When your internal architecture shifts, people feel it. You cannot build a future erasing yourself. Contribution must come from overflow, not deficit. This work is never finished. You inhabit it. You are building a habitat, not a monument. You are not becoming someone new. You are returning to who you were. Reclaim the architecture that was always yours. If what you heard today felt familiar, that's not coincidence. It means you recognize the system you've been living inside. This session was never meant to solve your life. It was meant to help you see it clearly. But clarity is only the first layer. If you want to take the next step, not into fixing, not into motivation, but into locating yourself inside this architecture, start with the Filipino Life Snapshot GPT. It's free. It's lightweight. And it's designed to help you identify where pressure is actually showing up in your life, without overwhelming you or asking you to commit to anything yet. Think of it as orientation, not intervention. You can find it at www.architectedlife.today/snapshot. And if, after that, you find yourself wanting more than a snapshot, if you want to map your full grid, understand your patterns across domains, and redesign your life without collapsing under it, that's where the full guide comes in. The architecture of the Filipino life is the complete system, not inspiration, not escape, but a way to work with reality instead of fighting it. You can find it at www.architectedlife.today. You don't have to do everything now. You don't have to decide today. Just start seeing where you are. The rest can wait.